Good afternoon, traders. I hope we're having a good day today so far. Welcome to TradeSetup and the live stream for the 9th of February. I hope we're all having a good day today. The market's bouncing around a bit and it has been a bit choppy of late, the last few days. The US has certainly sort of been opening down, pushing up, opening high, pushing down. So it's sort of oscillating around those highs. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But yeah, it's been a bit of a choppy market. What we're going to have a chat about today is really just looking at a few trades on the ASX, looking at a few currencies to kick off with and just see what's happening there. Look what's the latest on the ASX 200. We've talked about this in a bit in the past about pushing below that 5,600 level, and it's just did as of yesterday, and that was rejected. And it's pushed back up so the last 2 days, but today it's actually just it's pushing back down again. So it is just bouncing around above that level, holding above. No conviction just on the upside as yet, but we'll chat about it in a minute. But there's early signs that it could actually just kick on higher. Bit of housekeeping. As per usual, just look at the general advice warning we have there. Just take note that we don't give personal advice at all. We just give you our opinions, what we see happening in the market. And you can also join us on Twitter, the top left corner. I know it's not showing completely properly, but you can see the link there at trade_setup. Join us on Facebook. You can see the top right corner, or just link into us on YouTube. You can see the bottom right corner is at TradeSetup, capital AU. Just go into there, and you can just, if you just subscribe to that, will send a note every time we're streaming, and any videos that pop up, you'll get a note of those. So definitely worthwhile having. Let's get into it then. We'll get rid of that. We'll get up our charts. Well, let's just go firstly to see what's happening in the markets. Was the market's down 15 at the moment? It was up at about, let's take a look at the ASX. Did pop up. Got as high as, right, 56.71. We're trading around, was it 56.35 now? So we have backed off from those highs. The all-important thing that we've spoken about quite a few times now, you can see, and it's not a bad sign all in all. Maybe we can just get a bit closer in. On the weekly chart, we were talking about this potentially just washing out that 5,600 zone, and 2 days ago we did that. So I think we haven't. I think the key now is to get up above 56.75. I think we'll start attacking, these highs, lower highs, say around the 56.20, 15 to 20 mark. This lower high here, and then we'll start pushing up towards 5,800. And this is ideal continuation type of patterns, where it could easily kick up through these highs at 58.25, and that's where we probably could be looking up towards 6,000. So that would be great. All the bulls taking charge there. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm just going to go back, and you can see that trend is definitely, we had a bit of a contraction in, but that was a key level at 50.50. So you've really got to, with your technicals, when you're looking at it, just take note of those key levels, the anchors we call them. They're very important because they can easily get retested, and say recently in that type of price action that made push down, make a major lower high, and then pushing down, a lot of bears would have been just jumping up and down for joy there. But they're really just getting sucked in. So people can get sucked into the market easily because the key level is way down at 50.50, which we did touch on, and probably just due to that, I guess just over the election. So we may not have got there if there wasn't an election as such, but well, this lower high may not have even happened. So, but either way, that was a key level at that time, and it's, if you can mark them up on your longer term charts, just to keep an eye on. If they're broken, then that's when you start to get concerned. This overall trend is starting to fade. But really, for me, this price action we're getting here, and you can see that push up and this pullback, and we're calling it a pullback because that market has gone from overextended on the upside to extended on the downside, but that price is getting held up, and like we thought, around that 5,600 mark. Nothing like we said confirmed just yet, but definitely worth taking a note of, especially if we get up through this high just up here. So, well, actually, we'll just draw it up. Let me just draw this up now. And we bring it over. I've got my little favorite tool here, which doesn't quite. All right, so we've got, that's not so much a level. So we've had that move up. We've contracted lower, and it's important to note, actually, that's looking quite good, to be honest. You draw it from here through the highs. we've just, as of today, probably just ticked up there. So definitely keep an eye on this, especially after we had that little washout of 56 on that note there. So when you wash it out during the session, but we finished on a positive note. So that was a nice little negative open, wash out, get a few, and it's just really sucked in. When you're down at these levels, they can easily suck in some short sellers and then wash them back out. We've had 2 days of rally. So today is just maybe a bit of an easing, but I think the key level really is at 56.75. We start picking up if we hold another higher low. So if we've done, you can see this top of price action. So we've come from the lows, pop up, we've just washed out that low, and we're sort of up at these levels. What we'd love to see, ideally, is that higher low build, and I think then we'll start, then the bulls are well and truly in control there, the buyers. Anyway, what's everyone else's thoughts on that? Feel free to jump in there. Yeah, so far so good. Let's just get into, here we go. So this is the intraday chart. And even the intraday chart, 56.31 is getting to be a key level, and you can see that on the open, just prior to the open, we touched up through that 56.62, and we held this high up there. It was extended to the upside, which you do get. Extended to the upside doesn't mean anything. Like you said, we get, you just got to be concerned, especially on the open. They tend to wash out a certain level, and then you can spend most of the day retracing. But the key level at the moment for this most recent push up, from down that, from a couple of days ago when we break 5,600 on the ASX 200, the key level really is at 56.31. If we start, and what you don't really want to see is this washout here and then getting some type of price action like this. It's just failing. Sellers start entering, and then we start looking a bit negative. And we go all the way down. That's not going to be good for continuation higher. The daily chart's telling us a different story, like we just went through. So what would ideally prefer to see? We may just get a bit of a lift and building a higher low, maybe a bit of a wash, but then start to pick up and holding higher lows. That didn't really turn out well, did it? Let's just get rid of some of these. So let's get rid of that actually. What I do feel is just getting a bit of price action down here and starting to lift off this level. I sort of think that could be more on the cards than anything else, but like I said, we need confirmation of just getting up through these sort of, on the CFD, it's 56.78. On the ASX, it was 56.75. So, but just keep an eye on those levels there. And we are extended down here, so to get that push down and just continue going, you probably need a bit of a pullback and build that lower high, which I don't sort of see it. But if we start getting a bit choppy here and into the close, we start lifting off 56.31, start pushing up into the close, that'll be a nice little sign, and we'll see how it goes tonight. But the US, I think, what is it? We've had 3 nights now, so I think one of the nights, it might have been Monday night or Tuesday night, they actually opened up quite strong and sold off into the close to finish pretty much break even or down slightly. And then last night they did the reverse, pretty much. They opened a bit weaker, but then lifted into the close to finish neutral. So it's a bit of a mixed bag over there. And again, that's a lot of the reporting season coming through. They're still looking at that, focusing on that. Trump policies, God, who knows what he's going to do? What's the next thing that he's going to stir the pot with? So yeah, and there's a few political uncertainties over in Europe at the moment. I think elections are coming. I don't know if it's France, but either way, there's a few uncertainties over there which are really putting pressure on. So you got Europe's under a bit of pressure. The US might be coming under pressure. So there's a few key elements that could mean we tip over. But you go with the flow. And this is where people can get caught. Everyone that's waiting for a sell-off, the market can keep grinding high and just catch you off guard, and then you're sitting there sooner or later, sitting on your hands doing nothing, thinking you're going to miss the boat, and people will do that, and then jumping in at the last minute, and then it starts rolling over. So you just got to be wary. You pretty much trade what you see, and that's what I like to do anyway. Not preaching, I guess I am preaching a bit there, but it's something to keep an eye on. Let's look at what the Aussie. Let's just kick on to the Aussie there. Aussie's still holding the trend higher. You can see that it's been grinding higher since 76, 71, 62 lows, miles off that at the moment. Had a good little, and this is the 30-minute chart. We had a good little, bit of contraction down to 75.16, and then we started holding higher lows, and we've been building. We're just on that, I guess to be more definite, we're just on that support line there now. You can see we've touched it again up here, I don't know if you can see the first one actually. Yeah, just touched it firstly in here, just off the side of the screen. And then we've touched that support line in there. So, you know, 1, 2, 3 touches, you draw your support line in. And we're just heading down towards there now. And we'll just delete that, meaningless now. So what we're watching is this zone just in here. I mean, for this trend to hold, you'd probably pull up short of that zone. It could wash out down to that zone and then lift back off. And that would probably drag in a few sellers and just wash them out when it turns around and retraces on them. But there could be, you know, just looking through those highs there, it's still contracting a bit down to here. So just keep an eye on the Aussie. I think it is definitely in an uptrend. It's whether it's founding a bit of a double top way up at 76, say 7,700. Bit of a double top, which has built some lower highs, but it's really only coming back to, don't forget, this is the key level. Let me draw it in. I'm drawing in a different color. I like different colors. Way down here at the moment. What do we got down there? That's 75.53. So it's lifted off, contracted, double tap down there, and then bang, had a really strong session. A strong move up to that 7,700, and we're contracting down to there. So we'll have to see if this can hold up just above 76.10, say, roughly where it is now, and lift off that level, build some higher lows, and then away we go. And then we should be attacking up through 76.66, this most recent high, up towards 77 and beyond. We'll just have to see how it goes, especially if we see more US dollar weakness. Euro, major double top. It's finding some major resistance up at 108.10, which touched on a few times, and we are currently contracting lower off that mark. But the key level, we drill it down. The key level is down here at the moment, 106.26. It is pulling back. The interesting thing is, though, this is the hourly chart. It looks like it's rolling over. I mean, definitely, but like I said before, your key levels, just take note of your longer term key levels, and it's down to 1 here. It's going to contract. Markets always go from expansion to contraction to maybe consolidation, go back into expansion and so on. It's just the routine of the market. So you just got to, if you can recognize what type of price action you've seen or what type of market you're in. At the moment, the market's a bit contractive. The interesting thing at the moment, I mean, although that trend line is still intact, we've just washed out that 107.06 mark or 107.10 just most recently, and we could be building that lower high and just having a bit of a pullback. So it'd be interesting to see if we have washed that out. That's an early indication that this downtrend is starting to run out of steam, and we are starting to lift, maybe going a bit of consolidation for a move up. And you can see these runs up have been had some major contraction lower, had another good run up, major contraction lower. So really, it's getting towards that. It's an ideal position where it could actually lift off here, off this support at 106.27, 25. This support zone down here, because it's just made that low at 106.44, 45, and had a good kick up. You know, it is a fair few, we've got 40, 50, 60 pips, but if we can tract off here, what ideally would be nice to see, you sort of pull back. Oh, it's useless when you can't see it, isn't it? Let's just try that again. If you just pull back and then we start lifting, you know, holding some higher lows, and then you see the stop of price action going up. All right. So that's what we'd be looking for here. If that doesn't play out and just keeps grinding lower, then we're not going to see an entry on that. That is more of a washout. That downtrend's holding, and we're going to break through this. And then if you get further down here and start retesting and breaking through that 106.45, then I'd say this is going to be under some serious pressure. We'll see how that plays out, but it's in a good position. It's showing us some early signs of actually breaking and holding some higher lows, and then working its way back up towards that resistance and potentially through it. 108.09. That will, I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of shorts built up there. They're going to get squeezed out of that market. I mean, running for cover, which is enough fuel to really kick it higher. Gold, you can see it sold off from those 13.11 right up. That was way back November. What was I trying to say there? So we're on a 1 hourly chart. Have that push up through there. So there's a key resistance we're getting up towards. Probably still way off 13.10. We're around 12.40 at the moment. Had that big sell down. Really didn't stop down to 11.26, and then we started lifting off. You can see this price action here. So we'll just try to get the most recent price action. You can see that's ideal price action. You can just see, you know, if you're looking to trade gold, just pretty much anything. If you see these sorts of things, when you're getting a bit of a wedge at the bottom, and you think we're down on the knees there a bit, which getting a bit extended to the downside. Just be wary. I mean, that's that there's going to be a lot of shorts built up there, and that if it does start lifting, there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of fuel, uh, from short positions having to close out, getting squeezed on stops, and that they're probably going to be holding stops at different levels, so you can start targeting different levels. But that was ideal, and you can see with that little break up here. Let me just make that bigger. This little break push up here, I'll just draw it. That was nice little signal for me. Would have been nice, and then just with a push up through here on gold, you've got your risk, and then you're just targeting these highs, which are just busted through. So that's a good sign that you've got some continuation happening. And your next one up is going to be up towards 1164. So there was definitely some fat in that trade. Would have been worthwhile. I know this is all in hindsight, but it's just worth recapping some price structure that looks good. Just put it in the memory banks, I guess, what we're trying to say. And just, you see these types of price action working over and over again. Is that what I was trying to do? What happened here? Gold. So anyway, yeah, you had that good solid move up there, and then you got a double top. And that's always, when you get this type of price action, you've got a key level. I'm guessing it. Well, let's just look at that one here. You got a key level that was really down at this level. The market pulled back, had a bit of a contraction low, and started building some higher lows, but then failed again. When you get that secondary fail at a level, at a key resistance zone, and you get those lower highs like we got just in here, let me make that a bit bigger, like we got just in here, it's always worth to take note of that. And if you're long, maybe just tighten up your risk or lock in some gains. Do whatever you've got to do if you're making money, just to keep it on the table. If you're down a bit on a position, just take note of things like that. A double top is a very powerful negative tool, and a double bottom's a powerful buyer's tool. So you really got to anticipate if it can get through this low here. It's pushed up, built here, and started pushing up into a zone. Then if it starts rolling over from there, you just got to be careful. All right, so I'm just going to note through there. So it's just worthwhile taking note of those. If you are, like I said, if you're down a bit on a trade, tighten things up, because the risk is that we're going to at least target down to this low here, maybe breakthrough. We do know that broke through in hindsight. But with regards to the overall uptrend, if you're long from way back, if you happen to get long, like we said, at that nice little move entry point, way back when was about 1140, say 1137, you were riding it all the way up, just raising your risk every time you got a higher low, confirmed, and we started making new highs, then you raise your risk, so on. You've got your risk up here. You may have been stopped out. You may take half off or do the whole position and then watch again. It really just pushed through and then started building again. So that's been quite good. If we look at gold and say where to, if I can just probably make this 4-hourly chart, what I'd ideally be looking for here, now you're looking at action legs. The pressure's down at the moment, even the longer term pressure. It's pushed down. It's really, this is contractive action of this, probably a daily chart. So you've just got to be concerned about that. Just be wary of what's happening. You've had that leg up here. Now, if we just go and extend that from those lows, you're looking to potentially up to 1272. It's another $30 away. It could run out of steam there, but that's, if I was long, I'd be, especially if you're sitting pretty in a nice trade, nice move higher. Just take note of that. Take note of that's where it could run out of steam. That's the projection of that initial leg up. The same strength would take us up to somewhere around there. So you may start, as you get up there, if it's looking tentative, you may start to think this is going to roll over, whatever it may be. But especially, we're looking at this 4-hourly chart. We're holding around those extended zones to the upside. So this move up is starting to run out of steam. Maybe we may need another correction. If we get that correction, same type of thing, then buyer starts stepping in, then this could easily target up towards 1308 and through that, and then really get ahead of steam and move higher. So just keep an eye on that anyway. Does it all make sense, guys? We're going to be a bit delayed there, but Uh, all right, let's just get rid of that. Let's just get rid of that. Get rid of that. Let's just go down to the actual, see where the market's at now. So anything, chuck it in. If there's something you want to have a look at, put in the stock code. I'll wait for them to come through. But either way, I think these currencies, gold's ticking higher with a lower US dollar. Whether that US dollar keeps unwinding as it has been, I mean, everyone, like, I think I was talking to someone today about analysts going by the analyst. I think it's a surefire way to, if you follow analysts, sometimes you just get yourself in trouble. They tend to state the obvious, like US dollar, if they're bullish on US dollar, tends to be a bit of selling. It just means that, to me, it means that everyone's sort of talking it up. It means that everyone knows. And you've got to remember this type of thing. When you're trading, as a trader, I guess especially, you want to see the weight of probabilities. If everyone knows about something, is there enough fuel for that move to keep going? If you know what I mean. So if they're all spruiking a buy on gold, whatever, is there enough move that it's out there? It's not just one company might say it's a buy. You might find there's another few companies, some analysts saying gold's a buy. So everyone sort of knows it. They know it's going up. Is there enough in it left? There's enough people sitting on the sidelines to keep buying it up. So that's the question you've got to ask yourself. So what's the potential that if it has had a good move up, a good run up, there's a whole lot of fuel in the market ready to come out of it. Some steam's got to come out of it. So you can potentially just be looking for a short setup. Obviously, you've got to go by your analysis and however you want to short, whether it's fundamental or technical. But with your entries, using your entries. So if it doesn't work out, so be it. But if it does, you just know that there could be a lot of energy in that market set to come out. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if everyone knows something, like we're talking about analysts or whatever, there's news that things are going to go bananas, just be wary and just have a look at your charts. What's it saying? Does it look like it has gone bananas? Because they're normally talking about it after the fact. They're not going to, put a buy recommendation on something that's actually, well, they can, I guess I'm getting a bit sidetracked here, but what you're looking for is essentially markets that, let me give you an example. We had let me go here. Actually, this is one web. Let's just talk about this one as an example. The daily doesn't look too bad. Okay, we got into this somewhere around 1080 and took that little run up here. And I've just recently alerted to we've taken half off that, booked some nice little gains, and we just alerted today to take off, second half around 1150. So we're happy to do that. One, because we've got some other stocks that are going good, and I'd rather just put the money in if I think it's going to roll over into something that I potentially think is early on in the stage. So at that stage on Webjet, it was early on the move, and you can see that banging around just in here. So we're trying to get in nice and early. Even way back here would have been nice, as you see these high lows start to build, and then that these sellers are putting pressure on the market, but it's getting soaked up, and you're trying to look for that nice early entry. Sometimes you could be wrong; it pushes up and then rolls over on you, but that's where your trade management comes into it. But you're giving yourself, with your analysis of the overall stock, that the overall bigger picture, that could easily continue, because maybe the weekly is actually was pushing higher. So I figured that at that stage where, okay, if we got in there's potential for this thing to move up through 12. You don't know. But for me at the moment is the fact that it's starting to fall short of 12. I was looking for 12 to potentially exit the rest of it, but it was starting to fall short there. So we're getting extended on the upside, both on the daily. The weekly's getting right up there, and it's just struggling. And on the daily, we're starting to struggle too. Doesn't mean that it's over. It could easily pop over. I could be completely wrong, but I'm happy. I'm happy to book those profits and put the money, allocate it to something else, which is early on in a trade, which potentially earlier on. So just remembering, and you're looking at that weekly. I mean, look how many people have been buying it. I mean, I caught it obviously a lot late, got some money out of it, but if you were buying it in here for whatever reason, then you see these vertical moves. That to me, if you're starting to struggle up at 1150, to me, that if that rolls over, I think we're going to target straight through 9. Come all the way back through 9, and just because there's a lot of room for a lot of energy to come out of that market, if that makes sense. You've got a lot of buyers building up all the way up here. They got a bit excited. through 2016, pushed it up to 12, and you can see near vertical moves, some big moves. So when that type of thing happens, and then you start trying to go again, and oftentimes do it time and time again, they have a good style of move, and you get those Johnny come latelys, I guess, trying to come into the market going, it's going to break through the highs, jumping in and get it, and it makes a lower high. Okay, the concerns are out, the red flags are up, and for me, I'm happy to be out there and start allocating, funds somewhere else. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that you can see that that's a lot of steam to come out of that market. That's one good example, and it seems to be running out of steam there. If we go to the other one, CZN, this is, if you're looking at that daily, that's probably an example where it's building and it spent a lot of time building, pushing up, making new highs, holding higher lows. It started getting a bit tentative here. I thought it was going to roll over. Some fantastic news. So the news is what's kicked it on. It's gone bang. And that was 130% day, had a down day, then had another 40 or so percent rally, 30 to 40% rally up to 4.5 cents, and a bit of steam comes out of it today. So we're starting to get a bit extended on the upside. So you know that anyone who's been buying it through here, and I think I closed it around 3.9. I got lucky on that day, but in hindsight, it could have been nice to hold it. Happy there though, because you make it 100% in over 100% of days, generally pretty good. Happy to take that off and look for re-entries. But if you flick it back, unlike the last chart we just looked at on Webjet, where it's gone hard, this could potentially have a lot of room to move on the upside. So although I'm saying I'm happy to get out because I think there's a lot of fuel that are bought into it that are probably going to potentially profit take and just grind it lower. It could still hold some higher lows. Say it moves back to round 3, retest that breakout, hold some higher lows, then okay, we're looking for another entry because the weekly chart is looking great. And I think that long-term base, 1, 2, 3 years it spent down here, and it started lifting off in 2016, pulled back towards the end and started this year, made that high low, retested, even washed out a bit, and then bang, up she goes. So there's a lot of potential longer term on that stock, but just that daily, like what I say about heat coming out of the market, there could be it could be completely wrong. I'm just looking for this now to have a bit of a pullback, take some heat out, and then go again. But it's a bit different to Webjet, where it's had a lot of time going high, and towards the end of it, got vertical. I mean, this is a vertical move, obviously, but that had over the longer term webs. Well, let's just show up again on the weekly. That's a good move in anyone's terms to new highs, 12, maybe starting to struggle, maybe a bit of heat, could just keep going, we don't know. But like I said, we're risk managers looking at the balance of probabilities. I'd be happy to lock that in and look somewhere else for opportunities. Make sense, guys? What do we got there, Michael? PHK. I'm just going over this. Just going to the longer term. I have no idea what they're doing. You'd probably know a bit more about this. Foslock Water Solutions Limited. A bit more about this, Michael, if you want to put in a few words if you're following it. But from a technical point of view, not bad. I think it may be early stage. You can see that on a monthly basis, same technical structure, monthly, weekly, daily, even lower time frames. Starts getting a bit choppier lower time frames because it's easier to move. But getting the volume to move it and washing out things on a weekly or a monthly is a bit harder. So the technical signs are, how do you say, a bit solid, a bit more solid, a bit stronger. And we've had this, let's draw it. This here, I hope you can see most of that chart there, guys. You've got a level we just touched on, say up at 12. The thing is, you've had, I'm guessing it's from here, you've had these moves, these lower high here, did push down below that. We can probably draw it in. If you're taking this low, it did pop through that low, but you can see that the moves through the low, they're not big, and that's always a good little sign that it's trying to find a base. So what you'd be looking for is the market to push up through a lower high, and then that perks your interest. Now it did on the monthly anyway. It's popped up through this lower high, was about 7, and we're trading back down there now. Whether we're retesting, we don't know. So that's where you go down to your lower time frame charts, your weekly, your daily, to get a better sign. So it is definitely starting to look good there, Michael. Got a hot tip. Well, we'll see how this goes. Um, but that if something's happening there, and there is people knowing it, you can see that that's lifted up from 3 to 12, and we're going back down to retest 12. So what we'll do now, for me, on a monthly basis, that's starting to show some good signs. Stochastic's got a bit overbought. You've got a bit extended up to 12. Okay, some heat's coming out of that, some profit taking, whatever. We don't know why, but that's just what we're looking for. And there's more than enough heat coming out of the monthly where this thing can turn around and can hold up that level. So let's go down to look at just a weekly, seeing what they're showing us. Again, it's still no clear sign. It's still, that move down is still not over on a weekly, but it's just into a nice support zone potentially. A few early signs like stochastics, markets extended on the downside. So to say there's going to be more pressure would be interesting. More downward pressure. I think it's starting to get soaked up, but just flicking it, just remembering what's happening, flicking it down to a daily, we have just lifted off that 7 cent level. So again, on the daily, still nothing has really shown me that I'd like to jump in. The early signs of the monthly, it's showing some good signs in the monthly. We're looking for an area for this to pull up. Where am I going? And we'll draw that up. So now that the process is we're getting some signs in the monthly, it looks good. The weekly is still looking good. We're in a good support zone potentially where it could pull up short. We don't know that for sure now. You'd hate to buy this on a limit, just go, I jump in because you've got a few things showing, and this thing just take off through down all the way back down to 3. And then you're sitting on your hands, you're caught with a losing position. So really what you want to do is see it's popped through that level. You want to see a few more signs. So we've pushed down, just come back up probably today. Or is that today? The last couple of days. I want to see that retest and then start to lift, building some high lows. Maybe another. Whoops, it's getting a bit ugly there. Maybe another retest, pushing back up, but start holding some high lows, and then the interest is picked up because then you can start seeing evidence of sellers losing. The sellers are getting soaked up by the buyers, and buyers are starting to step in at higher prices with a higher low, and then just take it through that little breakout on a minor scale. Where your risk is going to be just below the high low. You can trade it that way, and then just see where it goes to, and see if they can break out that contraction zone there. But I think for me, still got a bit of work to do, but definitely it's early signs in the monthly. And for me, this 7 level, just looking at it on the stochastics too, it's extended down into that 7 level. Just look at that stochastics down here. It's definitely extended down to that zone. So yeah, early signs looking good. Sales are increasing. I'm not up to date on this story. Yeah, definitely something. And this would be something probably, if they come out with a good news, it can just blow through, and like CZN that I showed you just before, could just pop straight through and just wash out a lot of those highs and not look back. It may not give me the opportunity, with my higher lows to what I like to look for. But until then, if it's sort of a few people are starting to pick up on the story, it may do that top price action what we've just shown here, and it could look really good, especially if you start get up through 9.5, and then we start we build through 9.5 up here, and then start to make that high low. Then I think you definitely, because that looks like it's well and truly out of that contraction, and it's lifted off 7. We're starting to get so a really good push, but we'll see how that plays out. It's a good one though. I like this one, Michael. You have to remind me because I'll end up forgetting. Just seeing if anything else, whack it into the chat. Any other codes? I'll show you something that I'm kicking myself about. Is CIM. I don't know if you remember, we had this one a while ago. CIMIC Group Limited. Now, I'll tell you how we went. CIMIC. So we bought this at 31.76, somewhere in here, just below that breakout there. So we got that just in here, and we took that up. We run that up and got out at 35.50. We took a partial at 36.50, so a partial around here. Then we got knocked out of that, the rest of it at 30.550, just with a breakdown here. you know, it's what is that? That's 14, nearly 15% and nearly 12% on those two halves, like partial exits, partial entries, whatever you want to say. Did well, but I was watching this. I was telling Devon, I was actually watching this for potential new entry, a re-entry there, and it was looking good. And then, stupidly enough, I got sidetracked. But I just want to show you as an entry. Well, let's just go back a step. That there, go back to the weekly. Look at the weekly, and this is what you're going to take note of. Um, the weeklies had that push up, made lower highs, lower lows. It started to get us soaked up around what, 14 bucks, 13 to 14 bucks. It got soaked up and started busting through some lower highs. Whereas if it was weak, it should have gone through and should have kept going down, but it started lifting off this support zone, okay, pushing up through essentially 20 bucks. And then there it started a lot of time contracting in there, just banging around. Buyers were stepping in. You can see that like bit of a washout here. And then buyers started stepping in at higher lows, pushing the market up. And we got that big, strong push up to 40 bucks through early 2016. And then just as strong nearly sell off, but that built a major higher low. All right. So on the weekly, that weekly, and we got right up until 40 bucks, which is really previous major highs back from 2010. All right, I know this is a big picture view, but you've just got to take all this into account. And then we had that sell-off, and we started repeating that weekly price action, you know, soaking it up. Buyers were stepping in, and this type of pop up through here, these lower highs at 29.50, popped up, built a high low around 28, and then it was on that. That was great price structure, just really, really nice price structure because you spent a lot of time retesting that zone around 27, retesting again, and then popped back up. This push up through, say, was it 29.50? I'll draw it. It's probably a bit silly talking about it, rather just draw it. Um, this push up through here is your heads up, okay? Heads up that something's happening. Maybe this, I've got to get on board. So there, with that move down, and then you held some high, only minor higher lows. Well, we can probably draw that a bit better through here. With that pop up there, it's ideal. Just it's really worth keeping an eye on that. Then you had that pullback, a pretty deep correction, really retesting that support around 28, and then started lifting off that. Probably a bit hard for me. This is a daily chart. Yep, a bit hard to find an entry there. I like these, you know, a pullback. I like these types of things, and then bang through there. We didn't quite get it, but either way, if you're jumping in there and it started lifting off there, you got a couple of green candles, then definitely worth jumping. And that was your first heads up that something's happening. Then we got a nice strong move up. So this here, and I like these trades are something to take note of. When you're getting up towards highs and you fall short, like we did at 37, okay, a bit of heat coming out of the market, all the way down, and we got this type of divergence on the stochastics. I know people look at that. It's just always worth to note. Bit of divergence when it's had a good strong move down, and then we started lifting, all right? So just remembering all this price action, and draw that up. So what that's level of 39. So we're with this move up to here, we fell short of 39, and 39 it was a major resistance zone. Okay, we fell short of that zone, so it's always a good sign when it's just it falls short a lot. They build that higher low, it brings in a few more buys, and then it just blows. It can just blow up straight up through these, not just this high, but straight up through the major resistances. It's like poising before, building up the energy. You just go bang straight up and through, and then drag in a few more buys above there. Maybe it's done it in a couple of candles. So we were ideally looking through a push up through those highs at 35. I think it's 10.20. Yeah, then I dropped the ball. I didn't look at it. So that's one that, you know, just explaining the rationale behind the actual trade. That was great. You know, the longer term charts had a good push up here, fell short of a major resistance zone. So it's a good little indication we're into that overextended to the downside, oversold zone, but prices are well and truly holding up from your key level way down at say 30 and a half bucks. That leg up, bit of heat come out, consolidated in there, and so that consolidation really should have dragged in some more buys, and we should have really alerted that, which would have been nice in hindsight. You could have easily got in that day there with that push up through, and then you would have been sitting up about 10 10 or 15% now, I'd say. Well, probably not that far, but sitting up pretty good, I think, about 10%. So that would have been nice. I'm just trying to show you that entry there. And you got, pushed down here, built the higher low just in here, and then built a minor high low around 34.50. That should have just triggered that buy through 35. What is that high? 35.20. So turning up, we'll have a look at it. Does that make sense, guys? So just look for that type of price action too. When they, the trend is up, has a bit of a correction below a key level, especially below a key level, and then you look for those power moves, and it's for a short-term trader can be really good. Yeah, well, that's main. Looking at the okay, on the monthly. So I'm always starting just to get a big picture and then drill it down to see what could be happening with longer term, shorter to mid-term, short-term traders. So you got that lift up, it's built a high low around 20 cents, pushed up through the recent highs around 75 cents, thereabouts, 70, 75 cents in this high. Had a pullback, great little entry opportunity there. Drilled down to the weekly, that was it. Oh, actually, that was a beautiful little entry. If you can see what I'm talking about, that contraction lower, failed continuation here. You break up through that high. I know you're sort of front running a breakout of those, breaking out of that contraction, so that could easily pop up and then roll over. But in context of what's happening, that's a great little contraction. You're taking that chance it's going to continue, which it did in hindsight. Had that big push up to 210, and we had a massive pullback. Ideally, let's draw that up on a daily. Yeah, we're going to get that price action. So for me, on the weeklies in an uptrend, the monthlies in an uptrend. There's not much left, and apart from looking at the daily chart now. The thing is, we've had that strong move up to 210, and as you would expect, a bit of heat's coming out of that market, and we've had that contraction lower. But really, a key zone really is way down at 90 cents. So it's because it's got away from that key anchor level, and then you've got a few more anchor levels. You've touched right down to 110. So this trend is broken. This move up here on the daily, we're contracting lower, still holding a weekly trend higher, contracting lower. But we're starting, that big push down to $1.10 is good. We've had a big washout down to 110, retested that support zone, broke through a minor one just in here at 125, say. Take major notice of that. It is definitely, but we've just touched down on 110. We've held a high low, which is really, really good, and just broken through. So just remembering back to that, the weekly, just trying to think where it was. If we just draw it, just remember where we got. See this price action just in here with that contraction lower, high low, and we went pop. That's pretty much the same on the well, where'd it go? On the daily. This could be exactly what's happening there, and we're not going to look back. We've just got up, really the key level is sort of just above that 140 mark. If we get up through there, off this high low, I think it could be good to go to test up to 170, even test right up to these highs. But even if you're wrong and it's a longer term contraction means we're going to build a longer term lower high, there's still a lot of fat in that trade. Does that make sense there, Bill? Yeah, I think you've pretty much nailed it. Through 140 could be worth it, but for me, and I'm probably just going, 20-cent risk. If you're happy with that, you're happy with that, because your risk would have to go below 120, that higher low, which is probably all good. You just got to, obviously work the amount of shares you're doing, take your risk off. So, but for me, I think I was talking with someone a while ago. Risk shouldn't be on a dollar value. I'm risking the $500 on a trade, because sometimes your break up through here, you've got a certain amount that you buy. Say you always buying 10 grand's worth, and then you go, I'm only going to risk $500. That risk could take you well and truly within that strike zone. So it could break up, pull back, stop you out, and then go. You've got to, for me, I'm always looking to put exits below a key level. So if it breaks, so it's got to come and get me. It's got to force me out of the market. Does that make sense? So I don't want to be forced out of the market. I don't want to, when structure hasn't changed, the price action hasn't changed, it's still looking good, but I got forced out by having a set dollar value stop. I'd rather minimize the shares I'm doing to bring me into that, so that 500 risk change my share. I might not do $10,000 worth, but it brings me down to my risk is down here on $500 risk. Does that make sense? So that's the way I would attack it. But either way, a break through 140, I think, is starting to look good. With a push up to 170, even if you're wrong and it starts testing up there and you start seeing it rolling over, it's still holding because it can easily hold, just up to 160, 65 and roll over, make a major lower high. You still could have something in that trade, some profit, book it, take some off, see if it pulls back. So, because at the moment, what we're getting in is at a good little level. The unknown, it's still holding major longer term trend high. It's had a good sell off. A lot of heat's coming out of there. It's going to drag in some buyers through 140 and just see what happens from there. But it's definitely looking positive. Anything else, guys? Let's just see where we are before we kick it on. Market's turned back up positive, which is nice. Just look at the 30-minute chart on that. So yeah, if we get up through today and we close up above 56.70, which is only really another 13, 14 points away, that would be quite positive in my eyes. Keep an eye on that, guys. Anything else just before we start to call it a day? I don't know what else. We've got a few here. A2M's actually, it's kicking on nice. A2M looks great in my book. That weekly looks solid. Even the daily is looking solid. It's a bit extended up here. I'd love to take half off our position at 245. If I can remember where we got in somewhere down here, 205. We just see 209. So we had an alert through at 209. So we got in 209 just to break this little high here. Trying to follow, once we see that higher low build at 195, say, getting in through 209 and just seeing what happens. We had to take a bit of heat on the trade, that push back below 209, but then it's really taken off and it's looking solid. So that move up there is very strong. To see it get up through the highs at 245, because that's just some good continuation sign through 250 even on a weekly basis. But also at the same time, the weekly looks great. See, this stochastic starting to roll up, so it's got a lot of room to move on the upside on a weekly basis. But we may find that we get up through there, have a bit of a contraction, bring some heat out of the market. Some buyers come back in, some profit taking, put some people back on the sidelines to re-enter the market and get it on another move back up. But that's looking good. SAS has been positive. Yeah, SAS has been good, Bill, but it's starting to annoy me. Hey, and in saying that, I didn't see that move up today. It's just kicked up. That looks good. So that's me on that daily basis is looking really positive. And the way this can move, just remembering SAS, the way it moves, it just goes bang. This type of move up here, it's contracted lower. And to me, this most recent move up, we're at the other end. So we're into expansion rather than contraction. And especially today, if we take it up through 10.5, bang, we're going to take a partial around 10.5, 11. That would be great. But if that builds and just has a good little run up through 10.5, we're going to start attacking 12, I'd say, and it's going to look really good. I didn't notice that. I haven't looked at that much today, but that's looking great. What else we got to say? WBC, we've got triggered at 32.50 today. I think that's looking good. That's a continuation zone. And look at the weekly. It's in this zone here is a good little area for this to potentially move up, which on the daily it's found a lot of buying in here, a lot of rejection, built a minor higher low. So this tends to get a bit grindy, old Westpac, but it could easily go up. And if it falls short of 34, we still got something in the trade. We're in a good little level. We're in on the unknown, like we'd like to say, buying at the unknown and selling at the known. So once everyone else knows what's going on, and you're probably going to find there's going to be people breakout traders up here, who knows? But once the trend is known to the majority of people, we're happy to either book some profit, tighten things up, but you tend to try to get in at the unknown. All right, so yeah, looking good. That's looking great actually. SAS, a few there that are not looking good. AHZ could look a bit better. We've got AJM, which is at 18. They're starting to pick up. If that kicks up through 18 and a half, I think that's going to kick on to 21. And then we're going to have to keep an eye on that one. That's looking good. AJX, we're very close to an exit on that one. I think it's 62 and a half. Just down here we got it, so it hasn't touched it yet, but it's down. It's this leg down is extended, so it'd be interesting to see if that can start lifting up, build some high lows, and start attacking back up towards 77. These highs, because the actual weekly structure looks good. But this can do that, contract up, and a lot of markets can say have contract up, build a high low, push up again, make a new inside high, and then just roll over. Like it has one high low, inside high up here in context of 90, and then go bang straight down through. So we've got an eye on it. But really, that overall price structure is looking good. It's worth a trade at the very least. AMA is looking fantastic. I like that on the weekly. That's looking great on the weekly. A lot of room to move on the weekly to get it up through 115. IFN sitting around doing nothing, but we're up on that, taking a partial on that. If it gets through 105, I think that's gonna pop up to 120. That would be great. 1170. Let's look at it. Treasury wine. Is that the one? Yep. Yeah, it's good, except I don't know. It's just here you're sort of on the weekly basis. You tend to be getting towards the end of a move on a weekly basis, so I think you have to be a bit careful of what you're doing up here. And a break up through say, what'd you say, 1170? Yeah, these highs. It could just be a short-term washout and then roll over major long-term. But if you're just looking at this price structure here, that's good. It's done the same thing back here, and it had a good kick up. It built it here, so you just be wary that we're getting this type of price action. Just taking out these highs a bit, consolidating, and rolling over. Who knows? But it is. With this move up here, it's sort of stalled above this high through 160. It's looking like if you get up through here, it's starting to get, just remember that weekly is starting to get a bit stretched. So it's not a massively high probability trade, but definitely that structure, if you got up through 1160, you probably want to hold your stop below that, these higher lows below 1120, because if it does roll over, you'd expect it to attack back down to 1040, 1060, thereabouts, and then you can just reassess it. But yeah, no, that's another good point. Blue sky. But the thing is, it had blue sky up here. So sometimes it's just to be careful. But yeah, blue sky trades. That's you're right. Blue sky trades, you never know what's going to happen. They can really kick on. Let's just look at it. And that leg up. So from 2015, it's been 2 years quite strong. It could easily go through 12, and away we go. But just yeah, keep an eye on that one. Anything else there, guys? MPL. Don't even remember where we got in. No, actually. Are we in that one? 275. So we're happy we bought that through 275, which is, and the reason why is that I think this, this price action here, the longer term price action had a good move up. We contracted lower, starting to get in that longer term higher low zone around 240 to 60. I know it's major zone, major area, but that's a longer term higher low zone. We started to kick up. We've had that kick up, so you go, okay, when we had that pullback through here, what's going to happen? Is that just going to keep rolling over, build a lower high? We don't know, but balanced probabilities, this is a longer term move high, especially when you take that, resistance across those highs. It's broken that with this leg up to this push up to 290. So for me, that price structure is quite good. It's ideal for me. We've got a lowered risk 275. We've got it through there with some at 265 risk. If it gets back down, goes back down through 270.65, I think we're going to have, this is more of a lower high, and then we're going to roll over, and retest down to 250, and we'll reassess it at that point. But that's looking good. All right, might call it a day there, guys. Tomorrow's no stream, so the next stream will be on Monday. So we'll get cracking again on Monday. Any questions you have on the way I like to look at things? If you disagree, put it in. I'm always like to have a chat. If you disagree too much, I'll turn you off the chat. Just be wary. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Yeah, if you've got any questions, send them through. You can either just whack it in the chat and ask what do we mean? Why am I talking about that? Why am I talking about that? To clarify a bit more, or just send something through. I know Paul is great because he sends through a couple of questions through on email, just asking a couple of questions, and it's great. He's trying to learn, because he's not big in the technicals, and he's trying to learn it to give himself another, what is it, feather to your bow, or whatever you call it. And it's good. It's good just to understand. I'm more than happy to help out where we can. But it's support@tradesetup.com.au. Anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. It's been great. We will speak to you again on Monday, and we've got a video we'll put out sometime tomorrow morning. Cheers, guys. Bye.